Hello, and welcome to the Get Lean and Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin. I'm a certified health coach, trainer, and author. And this podcast is for middle-aged men and women looking to optimize their health and get their bodies back to what it once was 10 to 15 years ago. I will give you simple, actionable items to get long-term sustainable results. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin. I hope you had a great weekend and happy Tuesday. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, hopefully you listened to episode 286, my interview with Ashley Armstrong, her and her sister, which they call themselves the Strong Sisters. They run a regenerative farm and are passionate about nutrition, weight training, cooking for yourself, bringing quality food to the masses. And it was an interesting interview. We touched on how she overcame her autoimmune issues, such as Raynaud's, and the importance of digestion and eating quality saturated fats, along with the purpose of measuring body temp and pulse, and much, much more. So if you haven't already, check it out, episode 286. And now on today's micro podcast, we are going to touch on a paper. I'll leave a link in the show notes if you want to read the entire thing. I'm just going to give you the abstract of it, what you can take from it. And let me just share my screen really quick so you can take a gander if you want to see. And the title of the paper is called Beyond Appetite Regulation, Targeting Energy and Expenditure, Fat Oxidation, and Lean Mass Preservation for Sustainable Weight Loss. So really interesting paper. It gets a little bit into sort of these weight loss drugs that have been coming out. We're not going to touch so much on that. I'm going to get into more of just the lifestyle interventions that you can make and what to take from this paper. So it also gets a little bit into brown fat and how that can help promote weight loss as well. But I will hit on that on another episode. Just want to touch on some of the high level things that you can do on a day-to-day basis. So that's that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you could come back, and we are going to get into this because when it comes to losing body fat or keeping it off, it's important to recognize that there's been a lot of strategies that can help preserve lean muscle mass, as well as activate what's called brown adipose tissue. I'll get into that a little bit more maybe on another micro podcast, but we're going to draw upon, like I mentioned, that review article that I just showed you up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. And again, the title of the paper is called Beyond Appetite Regulation, Targeting Energy Expenditure, Fat Oxidation, and Lean Mass Preservation for Sustained Weight Loss. And I think that's the key is people can lose weight really quick if they, do something that's sort of extreme, but it's all about sustainable weight loss and sort of avoiding the sort of yo-yo dieting that goes on because some people lose weight because of a wedding or an upcoming event, and then they end up regaining it, the second that event ends and wrecking their metabolic rate. We saw this with like the Biggest Loser study where, this has been talked about probably too much, but not too much, but the fact that, these people went on extreme diets, extreme workout regimens, lost a bunch of weight, and then 5 years later came back and put weight back on, mainly as fat, and wreck their metabolic rate. So you sort of want to be diligent about going about this and not just just go extreme. And I think it's important first and foremost that you want to know where you're at in this process. If you want to preserve lean mass and lose fat mass, which would be the goal, well, where are we at, right? Maybe check out like a DEXA scan. Or like there's people that do whole body MRIs or other strategies. You can even do caliper testing, whatever it is to sort of get an idea where your fat mass and lean mass is. I love DEXA scans. They're easy, takes not even 10 minutes. So hopefully you have one in your area. For all my clients, this is something that we do right starting out. And so this way we can sort of monitor and measure where we're at through the process. But you got to know where your body fat percentage is. I'm not saying that's the end all, but it also does a great job of showing you the DEXA scan, lean mass, and also different areas of your body that might need more targeting than others. Typically for males, this is the midsection, right? This is where visceral fat comes into play. And so that's where a lot of times we're targeting. So it's important to recognize that prioritizing the maintenance of and preservation of lean skeletal muscle is so important. And so one of the things that I sort of learned from this paper that I actually didn't really know much about, or didn't know that essentially 30%, a lot of times 30% of the weight that's lost when you're on a diet and you do excessive amounts of, let's just say, cardio and calorie restriction, is from muscle tissue, right? You're actually losing 30% muscle, not just muscle, but also from your heart, your liver, your kidney, and your pancreas. They actually decrease in size as well, which is going to impact your resting metabolic rate, which is probably why we saw those results with the biggest losers, excessive cardio, calorie restriction, and they end up sort of losing weight and losing weight quick, but they end up putting it back on because essentially they're not only losing muscle tissue, but they're decreasing the size of their heart, liver, and other metabolically active tissues like the pancreas and the kidney. And this is going to lead to a long duration and suppression of resting metabolic rate. So when people start yo-yo dieting and doing extreme calorie deprivation and over-exercising, this is when this could be an issue. I actually talked a little bit about this with Ashley, and how you're hearing a lot of individuals that have come on my podcast from sort of this pro-metabolic approach, and it's more or less just figuring out ways to speed up metabolic rate as opposed to slowing it down. And when you do extreme calorie deprivation, in the long term, you are going to eventually, your hormones will take a hit and you'll start slowing your metabolic rate. So what you want to do is, instead of that, you want to focus on resistance training, right? And this paper goes a little bit into that as far as focusing on weight training, because when you're doing resistance training, you're preserving lean muscle mass, even if you're at a bit of a calorie deficit, right? Because you see people at the gym, and obviously, God, I used to belong to a place called not Midtown, East Bank, which is in the city. And if you saw the cardio room, you'd be like, there's a reason why there's 8 million different ellipticals, and it's because people love doing it. But really, is that really what we want to be doing, right? Well, from this paper, it's just talking about the fact that focusing on resistance training, preserving lean muscle mass, because if you're just running all the time, you're on the exercise bike, burning all these calories and not doing resistance training, this is, yes, you might lose some weight, but you're also going to lose muscle mass as well. So you got to make sure that you're getting your weight training in as well. And if you have limited time, if you're someone that has a couple hours or hour and a half and you want to do some cardio, that's fine, but also leave time to do weights. But if you have limited time, you want to focus on preserving lean muscle mass, not just losing overall weight and fat. So if you're just focusing on cutting calories and burning calories at the gym, we want to really focus on resistance training, priming those muscles, improving your anabolic response in the body, and also optimizing protein. So you don't have to go crazy with protein. If you want to focus on about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight or desired body weight, that would be a good place to start. I've talked to Dr. Don Lehman about this. And so I'm going to show you a quick diagram, if you're watching on YouTube, that I thought would be sort of a cool thing to show, which just sort of encapsulates what I've been talking about. Here it is. And in this diagram, it's showing on the top people that just calorie restrict. And what happens is you actually increasing your desire to eat. So if you're always restricting, that's not good. And you're decreasing your energy expenditure. And it sort of shows these diagrams of maybe an overweight individual, not necessarily even losing much weight, but also hurting their hunger hormones and hurting their thyroid hormone, and things like that. So this is not a place we want to be. They talk a little bit about appetite suppressing drug. We won't talk about that, but we want to preserve lean muscle mass. And what will happen with that is our energy expenditure goes up, our desire to eat actually will come down a bit. And so diagram C, as you can tell, shows an individual who's a healthy way of losing weight as opposed to wrecking metabolism and overdoing things, which sometimes people can do. So I thought that was a cool little diagram. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to touch on today, is focus on fat loss, lean mass preservation, and you eventually, over time, the goal is long-term weight loss maintenance, rather than just like trying to lose a bunch of weight in a short period of time, which a lot of people do because they might have an event or something coming up. So that's what I want to touch on today. Maybe on the next micro podcast, I'll get into brown fat activation with some cold exposure. I do some cold exposure, so I will touch on that next week. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me, brian@briangrin.com. If you haven't already, my Stepladder System book is out, so check that out. You can go on my website and briangrin.com. It's there, or stepladdersystem.com. So that's all I wanted to touch on today. Let's preserve that lean mass, and it'll be a lot better in the long haul. So thanks so much for listening. Have a great day, and I will talk to you on Friday with another great interview. Thanks for listening to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I understand there are millions of other podcasts out there, and you've chosen to listen to mine, and I appreciate that. Check out the show notes at briangrin.com for everything that was mentioned in this episode. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend or family member that's looking to get their body back to what it once was. Thanks again, and have a great day.